Welcome to this video tutorial on how to paint a camouflage on the Mig-15 Tamiya 1/48 scale. The chosen schema was the Chinese Liberation Army camouflage. As you can see, it's a very nice and exquisite camouflage. The paints used are the Tamiya ones. Basically, the top of the model was sprayed with XF21 before we do the camouflage. Right after that, we used the XF11. We premixed that with the Tamiya thinner, right, in a ratio 1 paint to 2 parts of thinner, and I'm using a separate bottle like to have that, just to make things easier, right? The compressor used is a regular airbrush compressor. This is actually very popular nowadays. And the important thing to me was to have a tank, because we need some steady airflow during the process. The pressure used during the entire video was about 18 pounds, as you can see on the image. The airbrush we used was an Evolution one with a .2 millimeters head, right? It's a very good airbrush. And if you like the video, don't forget to press the like button. If you want to subscribe, just subscribe for more videos. So the initial idea is just to make start with some thin lines, right? Those lines are going to start from usually from the outside of the model, going to the center, right? So you see, like on the wing now, I'm trying to make the lines going from outside of the window and go trying to converge to the center of the wing. I'm also sometimes you need to test the airbrush, right? So you use like I'm using here, like just paper to do the test, right? To see how, if the paint is flowing correctly before you really paint it. Also, like as I'm wearing these gloves, right? I do a test on the glove that's very close to the model, right? So it's easy to transition and see the size of the line, right? And again, doing like very, very thin lines, right? It's a laborious process. It's a very laborious process, but it gets nice results, because the idea is just to keep a consistent gap in between the lines, right? You don't want to cover everything on the first pass or have all the details of the camouflage for that part, right? It's just more like going slowly towards the entire model, putting all the thin lines, right, and trying to make them as consistent as possible. You see here, like I'm painting the fuselage, and I'm trying to keep the airbrush as parallel to the model as possible, right, at the same distance, right? It's a little bit difficult because the fuselage is cylindrical, right? So you need to keep moving the model or the airbrush to keep that same distance, right? If you're painting the wing or painting the tail, right, that makes it easier. But the idea is just to keep the same distance, to keep the lines consistent, right? But I'm very, very thin lines. They don't need to really have the final aspect of the camouflage, right? But they're gonna be the starting point. The videos that you see are about running twice as fast as the original record, just to make the things a little bit to speed up a little bit the video, right? But I think that the entire process took about 2 hours, right? Only for this dark green cover, right, over the sky. That's the lighter color that's on the top of the Mig-15. Another tip, if you are like, that takes time, right? It's a lot of hours, like I said. If you want, you can have a pause and even like wait for the next day to continue, right? Then you can avoid, let's say, mistakes or problems. Just it's a process that needs time, right? You cannot do that very fast. As you can see, like, I try to keep more or less the same distance on the lines. Here I'm actually trying a little bit to make the lines thicker and more visible. And also, if you see, I am extending a little bit, right? So now they have different thickness, right? At some point in the beginning they are thicker than at the end, right? And at the end they're very, very thin line, right? And I'm modifying the geometry also. The curve is going usually to the other side, just to keep a more interesting pattern. See how I start painting on the glove and I go up to the model, like that makes it easier because you can see exactly how thick is the line, because that's not an exact science, because sometimes there is some extra paint on the head of the airbrush. Those are so thin lines that any extra paint is gonna make it more difficult, so that's why sometimes I start to paint on my glove, then I go to the model. And on the process I'm adding also more lines, right? Making the lines thicker, adding more lines, but I'm trying to keep a consistent gap in between the lines. the idea is just to keep the model, like going to all the parts of the model, make all these lines, and then going back again to make them thicker, adding more lines in between, and keep doing that until we have a nice pattern, right? Having the paint pre-mixed with the thinner, like I have on this bottle, right? Like I said, is one paint for 2 parts of thinner, and makes it very easy because you don't need to mix and put on the airbrush. What's gonna take time and can cause inconsistencies on the paint, and after like so many minutes painting, you're gonna be used to this, the consistency of the paint that was, right? So if you better like to if you like, let's say if you're mixing every time that you need more paint, you can have really problems if it's not exactly in the same proportion. So that's why it's better to mix before and have it ready just to add more paint to the brush when needed, right? Here I made a mistake, right? I put a lot of paint on the, you see on the tail, right? So there's this large spot, but usually a good idea is to not try to fix it right away. Just wait a little bit, maybe for the next part of the camouflage when you're gonna add more thickness and more lines, and try to fix it. Sometimes if you try to fix it right away, you're gonna end up with something too big or too dark, right? So it's better to wait a little bit and see. I'm gonna try to do that on the next part. Now you're gonna start to see I'm adding lines, right, in between the original big lines that we had, right, the longer lines. Now I'm trying to add a little smaller lines in between to keep it more busy look on the finished camouflage. So the idea is just to keep adding now lines in between the big lines and create a more busy pattern. It's really now starting to get more busy, right? Even like with the extra lines that we are adding, right? And also we try to make the lines not regular, right? So now we are going to the last part of the process, right? I'm gonna keep doing this, right? Making the lines thicker, adding more lines to fill the gaps where I feel that is needed, right? At some point, if you made any mistake here or something's too big or too round, that's not a big deal. Just get the other color, right, the lighter one, and go on the model and try to fix it, right? You're gonna just can do that as many times as you want, so that's not a big deal. Like, for example, I think that this is the third time that I tried this camouflage on this airplane, and I was only satisfied with really the last one that had these small lines, but I tried other ones, and there are sometimes that the lines too thick or too spaced, right? Was not looking right to the scale, right? But yeah, this third installment, I think that was more or less what I was expecting, and yeah, I'm very happy with the result. I hope that you guys also like the video, and please like put any comments that you want, and subscribe for more videos, and see you next time.